Silent watchers. They thought we were weak, fragile, just another primitive species clinging to a dying planet. But they didn't understand what it means to be human. We don't break. We adapt. We survive. And when the galaxy came knocking, it wasn't ready for the answer. This is the story of how humanity changed everything. The Galactic Consortium regarded Earth as little more than a curiosity, a planet of noisy, chaotic creatures who had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel before destroying themselves. Most established species measured their civilizations in tens of thousands of years. Humanity's paltry few millennia hardly registered. They were given observer status, a handful of trade routes, and patronizing diplomatic access. Ambassador Elena Chen stood before the consortium's High Council chamber, surrounded by representatives of civilizations that considered humans barely more evolved than primates. The Varaxian delegate, a crystalline entity that communicated through light pulses, had just finished explaining why Earth would not be granted mining rights in the Proxima system. Humans lacked the necessary experience to manage interstellar resources. The translation came through Elena's neural implant. Perhaps in another century, your application will be reconsidered. Elena maintained her diplomatic smile. 15 years representing Earth had taught her patience. The consortium's wisdom is appreciated, she replied, the standard response to rejection. As she turned to leave, alarms blared throughout the massive station. The Varaxian's crystalline form flickered with rapid pulses of red and orange. Fear signals. Consortium members rarely showed fear. Emergency protocols initiated, announced the station eye. Unknown mass approaching from the galactic rim. Speed indicates artificial propulsion. Size exceeds known limitations. The chamber erupted into chaos as species that prided themselves on logical superiority abandoned decorum. Elena remained still, watching as the main display activated, showing a massive object emerging from the darkness between stars. Not a ship. Ships didn't distort space itself around them. This was something else. The archivists of Ta Ceti, among the oldest consortium members, emitted a harmonic moan that Elena's translator couldn't process. Their gray, withered forms huddled together in what appeared to be ritualistic terror. It cannot be. The eldest archivist finally spoke. The Devourers were purged from the galaxy 14 million years ago. Clearly not, responded the Varaxian. Our long-range sensors confirm the energy signature matches historical records. Elena stepped forward. What are these Devourers? The council chamber fell silent. The archivist regarded her with compound eyes that had witnessed millennia pass. They are extinction. They consume worlds, stars, entire systems. In the ancient times, they nearly ended all life in the galaxy. The Varaxians' light patterns grew erratic. Historical accounts indicate they cannot be reasoned with. They operate on principles beyond our comprehension. How were they defeated before? Elena asked. They weren't, the archivist replied. They simply disappeared. The records indicate a force drove them back, but the nature of this force was lost to time. Elena's neural implant pinged, an encrypted message from Earth Command. She blinked twice to accept it, and text scrolled across her visual field. Initiate Protocol Guardian. Authorization CHEN Alpha 707. Her pulse quickened. Protocol Guardian was a theoretical contingency, something she'd been briefed on, but never expected to activate. Esteemed Council, Elena's voice cut through the panic. Earth may have a solution. The chamber fell silent again, this time in skepticism rather than fear. Your species has existed for an evolutionary blink, the Varaxian stated. What could you possibly offer against a threat that predates your entire civilization? Elena squared her shoulders. We've been waiting for them. Before the council could respond, Elena activated her neural command interface. A holographic display materialized from her palm projector, showing Earth's solar system. With a gesture, the image zoomed out to reveal hundreds of objects previously hidden throughout the system. Massive structures cunningly disguised as asteroids, dwarf planets, and orbital debris. For the past 400 years, humanity has been custodians of the Guardian Array, she explained as the objects in the hologram began to shift, revealing their true forms. Massive vessels of impossible design. We found the first one buried beneath the Pacific Ocean. The others were scattered throughout our system, disguised and dormant. The archivist's translator emitted a single word: impossible. When our ancestors discovered them, they couldn't understand the technology, but they recognized weapons when they saw them. And they did what humans always do. They learned, adapted, and prepared. As if on cue, Elena's display showed the objects activating across the solar system. Ancient vessels larger than cities shedding their camouflage, revealing gleaming hulls inscribed with symbols that predated any known language. What you're seeing happened 3 minutes ago, Elena continued. Earth Command has activated the Guardian Protocol. The array is awakening. The Varaxians' light patterns became frantic. You've been harboring superweapons. This violates 67 consortium treaties. Elena's smile faded. We were never full members, remember? Just observers. Besides, we didn't build them. We simply became their caretakers. Who built them? Demanded the archivist. We don't know, Elena admitted. The technology isn't ours, and it isn't yours. It predates all of us. But we learned how to use it, how to maintain it, and how to activate it when needed. On the station's main display, the approaching devourer continued its relentless progress. Calculations showed it would reach populated systems within days. The Guardian Array was designed specifically to counter this threat, Elena continued. Our scientists have spent centuries studying the technology. We believe it was left by a precursor civilization that faced the devourers before. The council chamber had gone from panic to stunned silence. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive now stared at her with new expressions: doubt, fear, and perhaps a grudging respect. Admiral Kaido Zhang of the Earth Defense Force will arrive within 6 hours to coordinate our response, Elena stated calmly. We'll need the consortium's cooperation and access to your navigational network. Why should we trust you? The Varaxian demanded. You've hidden this power while pretending to be less advanced. Elena laughed, a sound rare in the formal council chamber. We never claimed to be less advanced. You all just assumed it, and now that assumption might save your civilizations. As if to punctuate her point, the station's sensors detected new objects entering nearby space. 3 Guardian vessels, their ancient hulls gleaming as they positioned themselves in a defensive formation around the consortium headquarters. Admiral Zhang sends his regards, Elena stated as the council members gazed at the massive ships through viewing ports, and requests an immediate strategic council with your military leaders. The archivist moved closer to Elena, its ancient eyes studying her with new intensity. Your species knew this day would come. You've been preparing while we dismissed you. Elena nodded. Humans are good at surviving. We're even better at preparing for the worst. And right now, we're your best hope. As the council reluctantly agreed to her terms, Elena sent a single thought through her neural implant back to Earth Command. Guardian Protocol initiated. The Watchers have awakened. Across the solar system, humanity's greatest secret was revealing itself. Ships that had lain dormant for millions of years, maintained by generations of humans sworn to secrecy, were rising to meet an enemy they had been designed to destroy. Earth wasn't just another primitive world in a galaxy of ancient civilizations. It was the fortress that had been waiting, the trap that had been set, the guardians of a legacy older than memory. And the galaxy was about to learn what humanity had always known. Never underestimate those who appear weak, for they may simply be biding their time. The Legacy Protocol. Admiral Kaido Zhang stood on the bridge of the Guardian vessel Sentinel, a ship older than human civilization itself. Around him, human operators worked at control interfaces that merged ancient technology with modern understanding. Crystalline displays responded to neural commands, while energy conduits pulsed with power no Earth-based reactor could generate. Status report, Zhang commanded, his weathered face illuminated by the ship's ambient blue light. Commander Devi Sharma glanced up from her station. Guardian Array fully activated. Admiral. 97 vessels now operational and awaiting coordination. Consortium defense grid integrating with our systems, though their engineers are struggling with the compatibility protocols. Zhang nodded. He'd expected resistance from the consortium species, particularly the technocratic Meridian Collective who guarded their systems jealously. But fear was a powerful motivator, and the approaching devourer had united former skeptics behind human leadership with surprising speed. The archivists have requested access to our historical records about the Guardians, Sharma continued. They're quite insistent. Denied, Zhang replied. Until this crisis is resolved, the Legacy Protocol remains classified. The Legacy Protocol was humanity's most closely guarded secret, the true history of the Guardian Array and Earth's role in the ancient conflict. Even most humans involved in the program didn't know the full truth. Admiral, called Lieutenant Marcus Jones from the tactical station. Consortium representatives approaching in diplomatic shuttle. Ambassador Chen among them. Bring them aboard, Zhang ordered. It was time to reveal the next phase. The delegation that entered Sentinel's command center included representatives from the 12 most powerful consortium species. Their reactions to the ship's interior ranged from scientific curiosity to religious awe. The archivists trembled visibly, their ancient eyes wide, as they observed symbols etched into the walls. Symbols that matched fragments in their most sacred historical texts. Welcome aboard, Sentinel, Zhang greeted them. One of the original Guardian vessels, approximately 18 million years old according to our carbon dating. Impossible, stated the Meridian representative, a biomechanical entity who had specifically requested to inspect human claims about the technology. No material could maintain structural integrity for such duration. The hull is composed of an alloy that self-repairs at the molecular level, Zhang explained. It's not just a ship. It's almost a living organism. Ambassador Chen joined Zhang at the central display, which showed the approaching devourer. The massive entity had begun changing configuration, extending structures that resembled feeding appendages. We have 28 hours before it reaches the Proxima Centauri colony, Chen informed the delegation. Admiral Zhang will now brief you on our defensive strategy. Zhang activated the main holographic display, showing the Guardian Array vessels positioning themselves throughout nearby systems. The Guardians were designed as a network, not individual weapons. They generate an energy field that disrupts the Devourer's quantum structure, essentially turning its own mass against it. How do you know this? Demanded the Varaxian delegate. If these vessels are as ancient as you claim, how could your species possibly understand their operation? Zhang exchanged a glance with Chen. It was time. Computer, initiate Legacy Protocol briefing. Authorization, Zhang Omega 919. The lights in the command center dimmed, and a new hologram appeared, a three-dimensional representation of human DNA. As the delegation watched, the display zoomed in to show specific gene sequences highlighted in gold. What you're seeing is not natural human DNA, Zhang explained. These sequences were engineered into our genetic code approximately 20 million years ago. The revelation sent shockwaves through the delegation. The archivist actually collapsed, supported by its assistants. The beings you call humans are the descendants of the race that built the Guardian Array. Zhang continued as the display showed the evolution of the marked genetic sequences through thousands of generations. Our ancestors were the advanced civilization that originally defeated the Devourers. Preposterous, the Meridian representative objected. Human evolutionary records clearly show development from primitive primates on Earth. Yes, they do, Chen confirmed. Because after the war with the Devourers, our ancestors were nearly extinct. Their civilization was destroyed. The survivors made a choice, to begin again, to encode the knowledge of the Guardians and the Devourers into their DNA, and to evolve naturally on Earth until the day the threat returned. The command center fell silent as the implications became clear. Each generation of humans born carries fragments of the legacy, instinctive knowledge that surfaces in our dreams, our art, our myths of apocalypse and salvation, Zhang explained. Most humans never access these memories consciously, but certain bloodlines were designated as guardians, tasked with maintaining the array and preparing for the Devourer's return. My family has served as guardians for 23 generations, Chen added softly. We always knew this day would come. The archivist had recovered enough to speak. This explains the anomalies in your species' development, your unusual adaptability, your accelerated technological advancement once triggered by sufficient environmental pressure. Zhang nodded. We're not simply using the Guardians. In a very real sense, we are the Guardians. The knowledge to defeat the Devourers is literally in our blood, waiting to be activated. On the main display, the tactical situation updated. The Devourer had accelerated, as if sensing the awakening of its ancient enemy. It remembers us, Zhang stated grimly. Now we need the Consortium's assistance to complete the defense network. Your vessels lack the Guardian technology, but they can serve as amplifiers for the disruption field. The delegation exchanged uncertain glances, but the immediate threat outweighed their philosophical shock. Within hours, the combined fleet of Guardian vessels and Consortium ships had formed a barrier between populated systems and the approaching Devourer. On Sentinel's bridge, Zhang initiated the final stage of the Legacy Protocol. Human operators throughout the Guardian array simultaneously activated neural interfaces that connected them directly to the ancient technology. As they did, dormant genetic memories awakened, knowledge buried deep in their DNA flowing into conscious awareness. Disruption field at 60% and rising, reported Commander Sharma, her eyes glowing with the same blue light that pulsed through the ship. Consortium amplifiers functioning beyond expected parameters. The Devourer approached the defensive line, its massive form shifting into an attack configuration that none of the Consortium species had seen before, but which the humans recognized instinctively. It's preparing to fragment, Zhang warned. Multiple attack vectors. As predicted, the Devourer split into dozens of smaller entities, each still large enough to threaten a planetary system. Disruption field at maximum, Sharma announced, initiating synchronized pulse. The Guardian vessels released a coordinated wave of energy that rippled through space, distorting reality itself as it engulfed the Devourer fragments. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The fragments began to collapse inward, their quantum structure destabilizing. Second pulse, Zhang ordered. Another wave followed, stronger than the first. The Devourer components shuddered visibly, their surfaces fracturing as ancient weaknesses were exploited by technology specifically designed to counter them. They're attempting to reform, Sharma reported as the fragments struggled to reunite. All Guardian vessels, execute Protocol Omega, Zhang commanded. Consortium ships, withdraw to safe distance. The Guardian array moved into a new formation, surrounding the failing Devourer. Then, as one, they generated a containment field that isolated the threat in a pocket of distorted spacetime. Final sequence initiated, Zhang announced as Sentinel's core began to pulse faster. Legacy completion in 3, 2, 1. The Guardian vessels simultaneously channeled their energy into the containment field. For a moment, space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a singularity where the Devourer had been. Then, with a flash of light that temporarily blinded sensors, the threat vanished to a dimension where it could no longer threaten the galaxy. In the aftermath, as celebrations erupted across Consortium worlds, humanity's status in the galactic community underwent a profound transformation. The species once dismissed as primitive newcomers were revealed to be the descendants of the galaxy's most advanced civilization, guardians who had sacrificed everything to protect life itself. What happens now? The archivist asked Ambassador Chen as they stood in Sentinel's observation deck, watching the Guardian vessels return to their patrol positions. Chen smiled. Now we remember who we were, while continuing to discover who we can become. Across Earth and human colonies, millions of people reported strange dreams. Memories of a civilization that had reached the stars long before recorded history, of a terrible war against cosmic predators, and of a promise made by ancestors to stand watch over the galaxy, no matter how long it took. The legacy had awakened, and humanity had fulfilled its oldest purpose, not merely to survive, but to protect. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again.